Good morning. Today is March 12th, I believe. So we're about second week of March, and it's getting to the time of year where it's definitely becoming seed starting time. And I just want to talk a little bit about our setup, um, what it looks like. I don't know if it'll help you out at all as far as maybe making it more efficient for you, or if you have a little bit bigger area that you can start seeds in, maybe how to organize it a little bit better. We definitely, over the years, have just made do with what we had, and it worked, but it definitely isn't the most time efficient. So this year, one of the projects I had in the spring here was not only to give us more room in the propagation house, because our room is limited, it's a smaller prop house, and we don't want to heat a big area if we can get away from it. So it's creating more shelf space was one, and also making our potting soil mixing area cleaner, more efficient. I usually just use the tote on the ground and mix it on the ground, so I was bending over on my knees and doing it. It kind of makes a mess, and you can't really clean up that mess. You kind of lose the potting soil a little bit that isn't in a contained area. I would put the potting soil in flats on the table, but that table didn't have any edges to keep the potting soil there. So I'm going to quick show you here. So this is our seed starting area. I'll actually come in from the entrance. So this is our prop house. See, it's not huge. It's 16 by 25. Wait, no. Actually 16 by 30, sorry. I did not get that right. So our actually seedling area, half of it is beds, the other half, so it's 16 by 15 actually is where we start all of our seeds. And this area here eventually will be filled with tables of flats. But this used to just be a table with chicken wire on it, and it was never very sturdy. At least the chicken wire had some flex, and so you had flats that weren't sitting flat. You'd put water in the flats, and the water wouldn't kind of evenly soak into the flats, and so that's kind of annoying. So this year, what I did is I created a table on one side, just put plywood with edge on it, and then I cut out for our mixing tote. And this is removable. This comes out easily, so I have to change it with the new one. If this one goes bad, it's easy to do. It also makes it recessed in there, so I'm not working high. This is where we fill the flats, and so there's an edge on it to contain. As you can see, there's already potting soil. We've only used this twice, and in a year's time, you're going to lose a lot of potting soil just going off the edges. So we get organic potting soil, so it's not cheap. And even if it's saving us half a bag, I mean, that's definitely worth it. So here's where we mix, put the potting soil in, and then it goes on these slats, which make it, they're all even, so you can slide these easily, push them down, where before you had to lift them every time to move them. Here you can just slide them. And then what else I did is I created a rack up top here for more seedlings. So as our greenhouse gets full, we can put trays up here, have a whole row up there, and that'll give us about another 13, 14 trays up on top of these. And I just did one row because as the sun gets higher in the summertime, you're gonna have shading, so I can't come out too far, but there was enough there for one row. And so that's really critical, because last year I actually had to put shelving on top of this bed. When you're in your spring kind of I guess abundance of seedlings and kind of overflowing of seedlings starts, that you're waiting on the weather to get warm enough, but you have them sitting there ready to go in the ground. It definitely maxes out the prop house and creates the stress, and just making it easy to manage can be hard. So having that extra space hopefully will keep this bed free to where I can plant that to some early zucchini. And I just want to talk here. Another critical part is this divider, which is just scrap greenhouse plastic that I put up over top of the bow, and there's some clamps on it to hold it in place. So it's pretty much a free wall, but it keeps this place warmer, this half of the prop house warmer when there's nothing planted there, because the cold nights I'll drop this and I'll clamp it together, and so that way I'm only heating half of it, and I can heat just fine with a little gas heater. Or if I wanted to heat the whole prop house on a night when it gets down into the mid-20s, it would actually barely keep it above freezing, and you'd have spots on the edges that actually would freeze. So by closing that, it keeps this section warm enough to where we don't have anything freezing. So that was a cheap way to, for one, keep it from freezing, but also to keep it warmer. So the plants are very sensitive to cold night. Really, it's the combination of warm days and, well, the temperature during the day and the temperature during the night, the average of that really promotes plants to grow or not. So if it gets 70 to 80 degrees in here during the day on a sunny day, that's great. But if it gets down to 35, 40 degrees at night, your average temperature there is only 50, 55 degrees, which is not good for, especially beets. They can't take up boron if the potting soil gets cold enough. Tomatoes will not grow, peppers won't grow if the soil temperature is below 60. They might grow, but they won't grow like they should. They'll be struggling, and they'll also turn purple because they're not able to take up nutrients. Soil temperature has to be warm enough for them to take up, I think it's potassium that's restricted in cold soil temperatures, and calcium usually is too. So having that closed off is very important. It's helped out. I think I just started doing that last year. It made a world of a difference, especially when we get into March. It's not a huge deal because I don't have peppers and tomatoes out here. But April, if you get some cold nights in April and I have this full of tomatoes and peppers, it's definitely a big benefit to have that. So never, if you're heating something at home, if you have a small hoop house or greenhouse and you're wanting to put some heat in it, for sure you need enough heat, but also just try to minimize the space that you're heating. Even if you have to put up a temporary wall or something, it's definitely worth it for that extra heat for your starts. It'll help your starts grow, I would say, twice as fast as just keeping it above freezing, and yeah, you keep your plants alive, but they're kind of struggling and very lethargic in that cool of temperatures. So that's what our prop house looks like. It's nothing fancy, but it makes do. We start all of our seedlings in here for about our 1 acre market garden. So you don't need a huge area for an acre. I mean, it's not, an acre itself is not a huge area, but we do intensive planting. And this provides all that we need for that, and we do sell some extra in the spring. So yeah, you don't need much, and you can do it on a cheap budget. All this here, I made all this. Some of the 2x4s, the pine was just scrap, but a lot of this too was like these slats are from wood that was milled on the property. But yeah, you can do a lot if you scrounge around and find things and make them do. So until next time, eat well, live well.